うんうん。まあ、やっぱり、いろんなプラットフォームに広がること。
When platforms is spread out, there are various technical things actually that each team could absorb or learn from one another. But the biggest thing is that new ideas come up because of new hardwares, and that brings stimulates other new ideas in other platforms. So this is probably the best feature we get when we spread out the platforms. However, our team is really not very capable of doing one multi-platform development or gigantic development. And we have already been sharing ideas and trying to implement one another in other platforms, but this is not still apparent yet in the market, or you guys cannot still see it, but we probably think this will come up quite soon, and the effect of this changing ideas with amongst the different platform teams will be more apparent in the near future.
正直言って、まあ我々、
as I said before, our production is really not very good when we come to creating multi-platform in a certain time, meaning the US, the American publishers maybe are much better in doing so when we see their products. What we really try to do is that we have our AI as a core, and even though if it's spread it out onto other platforms, we don't want to make the experience of that core AI weaker. This is one of our top priorities when we spread out in multi-platforms. Currently, we have the PS2 or the next-gen platforms as kind of a core within the team because it is the most advanced, and what we could do in the future is most probably technically possible. In that sense, the total structure is different than the handheld machines, such as the PSP and DS. This is a real challenge to us, and we think it's sometimes really weak when we try to relay this core AI in these handheld platforms.
そうですね、監督の思考についてはかなり
What we got direct feedback from doing test management game is actually about we created some other AI system of a manager's point of view, and this really is implemented in our CPU that you see today. How we can annoy the players is actually how we make the CPU smarter was actually more an advantage when we did the PES management game than the Master League. We did still find a lot of points in doing PES management games or other things that could affect the Master League, so we would like to implement those feedback, and we're still piling up what we want to do in the next Master League, so those lists is surely affected by the feedback that we got doing PES management.
When we
look at the next gen now that we have available end of this month, it's really so far away from what I want to do using the next gen platforms. But it was good in the sense that we kept now the first step in bar, and we have all the next gen ready. Meaning the basics of our next gen is ready. If you look at our first PS2 title and PS6, you'll know the apparent differences. So we're now ready to do those steps in the next gen platforms as well. Yes, I was impressed about our PlayStation 3, but that doesn't mean that I had automatic ideas about upgrading on the graphic level in the game. It was more about how I was happy so that I could probably recreate more realism of the football through our title. Right now I have a lot of thoughts and ideas that I want to do in order to push PES into the next gen or the next level. And this is not something that I'm saying that it will come out in the next 2 or 3 years. I think I could pull this a little faster. Meaning next year, I could probably have these top priority ideas implemented so that you'll see that the gameplay becomes next level.
そうですね。やっぱり PS3 は最後の最後まで。
Well, that was actually, it was very apparent in the last stages of our development when we were rushing up the PS3 version. We still having difficulties about that. We had mass difficulties. It's been chopped down shorter and shorter now. However, when we think about the next gen, 360 and PS3, that was kind of the major point that we realized at the end that came up on the PS3 only. Okay. The most, not maybe the common, but the most, there were several people that we felt that the people had super high expectations on the PS3 version and were quite disappointed. These people were quite disappointed, and they said things like, we thought it would be much better, but, it's a disappointment actually. They actually said it was a disappointment. That was one of the shocking impressions that Seabass got when we had this interview this time. We knew we could have done better, but because of the time constraint that we had to release the game on multi-platform, we tried to have an option of releasing the PS3 version later, but for various reasons we decided not to, and we tried to set just the basic part and release it for now. The thing that he never said to any of the press, and I could assure you that, is that we've been discussing even throughout this interview, between interviews, about what we should do, how important we are now, today, because we're in the front line of hearing the direct voices. This is very good, and even if Seabass and I hear things like, oh, your game is great, that's very happy, but it's not really useful for upgrading our game. So if you love our game, we are very open for any of the comments or suggestions. So what we haven't said before is already he has started on the next project, but we're going to go back on the drawing board saying we got this much comments from the press, and we need to work on these parts.